is Right to Life Radio with John Gerardi on Power Talk 96.7 and AM 1400, a production of Right to Life of Central California. And now, here's your host, John Gerardi.
Thank you to the deep men, the deep voice men, the deep men voice from Jonathan Keller and myself. This is Right to Life Radio. Thank you all so much for listening. A production, as always, of Right to Life of Central California. You can go to rtlcc.org to learn more about us at Right to Life of Central California. Hey, one of the things I want to highlight for you all, if you're listening to this show, is that we at Right to Life of Central California are taking a bus on Wednesday to Sacramento for the California March for Life. The California March for Life. This is a new annual event that will take place in Sacramento, California, and the focus of the event is on California state issues. So a lot of the bad bills that are before the California legislature, we will be engaging with state lawmakers, marching around the California state capitol. Should be a really excellent event. We'll be leaving from Holy Spirit Catholic Church in Fresno. We've got a bus through. We've got a bus, and we're going up to Sacramento. So we'll be leaving at 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday, August 25th, from Holy Spirit Catholic Church. If you would like a seat on the bus, and we have seats available, give us a call at Right to Life of Central California on, if you're listening to this show on Saturday morning, give us a call on Monday morning. Our number is 559-229-2229. All right. With that out of the way, let's get down to business. I want to discuss today I wanted this to be sort of an evergreen episode. Jonathan Keller's out. There's not a ton of news on the pro-life front going around. But one of the things I like to do occasionally is to do this show, where I give sort of an in-depth explanation as a pro-life attorney about Roe v. Wade and what it did. Now, I think some people have a general sense of what Roe v. Wade is. Oh, Roe v. Wade's the Supreme Court case that legalized abortion. But it's kind of a complicated explanation of what exactly it did, what exactly its sister case did. Its sister case was called Doe versus Bolton. And there's a lot of sort of details involved with it, and I think if there's anything this show can do, it can help educate people about the abortion question, and especially abortion as a political topic and as a legal topic. I think I'm kind of uniquely positioned among Fresno radio people to sort of explain it. So that's what I'd like to do today, is to give a sort of more in-depth explanation about how exactly Roe v. Wade worked and what exactly it did. So let's first get started by talking about some of the background history of Roe v. Wade. I don't think we can really fully understand Roe v. Wade unless we understand and appreciate the history of abortion in America before the 1970s. And the best way to understand that is by reading this enormous book. For those of you watching on YouTube, and you can watch this show on YouTube, youtube.com/righttolifeca. I am holding in my hand here this big fat book. It's called Dispelling the Myths of Abortion History by Joseph Della Penna. Those who listen to the show carefully will know I talked about Joseph Della Penna a couple of weeks ago. Joseph Della Penna is a longtime law school professor at Villanova, and he actually submitted an amicus brief to the Supreme Court about their upcoming Dobbs case about the history of abortion law. And his book, Dispelling the Myths of Abortion History, is a really important work. Basically, what it does is it counteracts the major historical thesis that the justices on the Supreme Court during Roe v. Wade that they affirmed. Basically, the justices in Roe v. Wade came to accept a bad, faulty, incorrect history of how abortion was treated in the United States. They sort of had this sense that abortion had historically kind of been recognized as a right, as a right that American women had. And they did this somewhat somewhat appealing to a lack of evidence, because the legal records and evidence that we have for abortion, there's not a ton of records relating to abortion in early American legal history. So they were saying, well, we don't have any evidence to show that it was outlawed, so it must have been a constitutional right. So they made a lot of bad arguments about the nature of abortion in early American history, and Joseph Della Penna kind of dispels that. So let me sort of describe what the legal status of abortion was in early America. And one of the important things to recognize about American law: America is what's called a common law country. A common law country. The common law tradition is a legal tradition that sort of originated from England, and many of England's former territories, or Commonwealth countries like Canada, Australia, etc., but also the United States as a former British possession, we inherited the British common law tradition. And common law is characterized as basically judge-made law, that early English law did not have, a big code book, a big book full of statutes. Here are all the rules and laws by which we're governed. Legal doctrines would be developed by judges examining individual cases and developing a doctrine for how you define X, Y, or Z legal principle, and that these decisions would be handed down from judge to judge in a system of precedent. And this was how law was often made. Law wasn't only made via statute, wasn't only made by acts of parliament or acts, royal decrees. It was made by judges examining cases. A lot of the basic principles of American law today were developed out of the common law. A lot of the sort of textbook definition of, murder is a homicide with malice aforethought. Burglary is breaking and entering at night with intent to commit a felony